Technology is definitely not just for men. The economy is growing and the job market will be ever expanding, and that will mean that there are opportunities that are available both to men and to women alike.
The same way that hundreds of years ago women just didn't wear trousers, for example, and then they did, and then it was all good, and then they thought, well, why weren't we doing this like before? It's really comfortable. For some reason there are all these myths flying around. Women just don't get interested into it as much, and then when they do, they realize it's just as another profession.
And you want to have as much diversity in a boardroom or in a meeting room or wherever it is as possible, because otherwise you get what they call groupthink. So everyone just thinks the same. So you're never innovating, you're never coming up with new ideas, you're never moving your company forward.
To be successful in technology now, one, you have to be very creative, and two, you have to be very collaborative. I think a lot of females have those traits. So I think it's a perfect career for women.
When I was 15 and I was doing my studies and someone would say to me, Jackie, you're going to be one of the top women in Microsoft, I would have never have believed them. But IT has enabled that for me.
I find it really interesting how technology really drives society. I really like things to run very smoothly and very efficiently.
I wanted to understand how things work in general, so for me it was like a challenge to see what's really going on there.
I was doing a maths degree and I tried to think of what would use the same skills as that and the same sort of mindset. It's all problem solving. You get to sit back and think about what's the best way to do this and go ahead and do it.
The fact that you could, write something that then has an outcome, that kind of make something was quite cool. Like, you kind of enacted something and made a difference.
During my childhood and my adolescent years, technology was the thing that was everywhere.
I always used to love playing with the latest gadget as it came out. So I thought if I could find a job that involved doing that and get paid for it, that would be awesome.
Technology is one of the most important industries. I'd say that it drives the way that society works, and nowadays we couldn't do without it.
Our whole life is impacted by technology. Helping moving things onwards in this respect is quite an important thing, I think.
You can make a difference to people's lives, even if it's a small difference in saving them 5 minutes off their day, or like a bigger difference in terms of like medicine that might save someone's life.
If it's used for the right reasons, it's a very powerful asset that can get to people, get information to people in a way you could never have got information to people before, can connect people in a way you could never connect before.
You're on the edge all the time and you're always discovering new things.
When you think of technology, I think of the guys in Big Bang Theory and like this geeky style.
Geeky people?
Computer geeks, stuck in a basement somewhere, doing lots of coding and never seeing the light of day.
The IT industry is definitely very, very diverse. The different people that I've met along the way that have surprised me, from the really timid girl in the corner who I find out is actually a massive code breaker and she's writing loads of code and developing apps, to a guy who I'd think would be a coder, and actually it turns out he works in marketing. There's all ages, races, everything here under one roof. It's incredible.
It's not only about coding, about techie stuff, it's more broad as a topic and as a subject.
I was pleasantly surprised when everyone was in jeans and t-shirts. In our new building we have kind of breakout areas, they have an Xbox. It's all about optimising your team and your performance.
But people that are interested in technology are interested about solving all these very difficult problems and about expanding their skills and finding out new things and so on. So I don't think they can be considered boring.
There's a myth about it being only for men, and I think that is only going to be dispelled as more and more women join the field.
70% of the net discretionary income in the world is controlled by women. So anyone who wants to sell a product of any type to a woman better understand them. And the best way to understand women is to have women in your workforce.
You can't just have one gender, one race, one anything, because it's very difficult to generate innovation without having different viewpoints and different people to debate and kind of construct what the best way forward is, really.
Teams that are made up of both men and women and are generally diverse are seen to be higher performing than teams that are not. At the end of the day, it's really important to really understand what our clients want, and if that means developing a product or a service offering that's aligned to the interests of both men and women, then it's really important to have both men and women on the team in the development phases.
People think that technology is all about software and technical issues, but it's not only this. You need to be a good team player, you need to be good at communicating with your clients.
I think the skills that women are able to bring to the technology role are the same ones that men can. Having said that, I think that women are able to bring a very fresh perspective to a role that's traditionally more dominated by men. PwC set up the Diversity and Inclusion Council in 2006, and that's an advisory group that specifically educates and promotes the recruitment and retention of women within the company. They also work really hard to raise awareness that we need more women in technology and more women in senior positions within the company.
Through the Microsoft Women Initiative, I was sent off to London to do a day of coding, and it was aimed at people that have never coded anything in their lives. And by the end of the day, I'd written my own app, so there's definitely a big kind of female unity to kind of try and get us more visible within the industry.
We have something called the Women's Interest Network, which is a global initiative that brings employees together who are interested in how we can progress women's careers.
American Express have a Women in Technology network, which I'm actually part of as the communications manager.
So we take a lot of what the WIN organisation does and try and make it much more specific to what do we need to do to attract females into IT.
1/3 of the company consists of R&D, and that's why we think we're a technical company. I know that in terms of like hiring, we try to get involved in a lot of women in technology events and make sure people know how it is to work here.
Bloomberg was a really easy choice for me because it offered this training scheme where you could build up from nothing. So that was really good for me. I got paid to learn all these things that I would have to do anyway to get into this career.
I have many women who work on my team who work flexibly. Imagine, I don't have to come to work anymore. I can work 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. If I'm in the airport, I'm doing my job. If I'm at home, I'm doing my job.
You can reach the top in technology and maintain a work-life balance. Last week I met with a partner, and she had gone down to part-time whilst she was raising a family and been promoted to partner during that time.
We have women in senior positions, and they're giving us guidance on how to work effectively and how to find a balance in our life.
And we have all sorts of schemes, including flexible working, which allows you, if you've worked extra hours, you can take time back, flexi time we call it, through to supporting part-time status.
A lot of what my team does is looking at what's the technology that can support people from working from home, for example. So one of the projects that my colleague is working on is called Bring Your Own Device. So how can I get my work email and calendar on my own phone?
What IT has been able to do is to give us a whole new meaning to work-life balance. So if you're a woman or even a man who's thinking about taking paternity leave or even wanting to work part-time, you can do that.
It's all about your output, really. It's all about, you know, your team and your manager saying that you're working hard. How you do it is really up to you.
I can see the tangible difference that my job makes to people. I can walk down a corridor, you know, and hear people say, "Oh my God, that link video tool that we used the other day, that's amazing, I really love it." You get that direct impact that you're having on people's lives.
I like the fact that technology is changing all the time. That's an evolving area. It's an area that is growing all the time.
The fact that I could be dealing with a new type of technology that I've never heard of before, or trying to solve a problem that we've never solved before, or build a product that we've never built before, that's the bit I like about it.
I think that it's a really exciting time to be in technology if you're a woman, because you're part of a very changing landscape.
There are opportunities out there, and we're able now to identify them and motivate more women work in technology.
Don't think about the gender difference, don't let that hold you back. If it's something you're really interested in or think you could be interested in, there's nothing to stop you from going for it. find women that are already doing those roles and find out how they started.
The UK is full of small IT companies and large companies like us desperate for IT talent. There are big opportunities if you work in IT. Switching that off and saying I'm not interested, it's male dominated, you're switching off a whole range of opportunities.
You don't need to have done a specific degree in order to get onto a project that's aligned to your interests. You just need to show a willingness to learn.
We're living in a century where it's definitely equal opportunity because you're always judged by your knowledge and by your hard-working attitude. So as long as you have that and you're interested, there is no problem. Just don't be afraid to get into it.
What are you passionate about? What are your skills in, and where do they intersect? That is the job that you should be doing. If you're never passionate about what you're doing, you're never going to be successful at it.